You had a German scientist who was, um, working with trying to revive German pilots. They were getting shot down. The Battle of Britain. They were getting shot down in the English Channel, and they would get to them, and sometimes it would just be a few minutes too late. They would have frozen to death from hypothermia after they ejected from the plane. They couldn't get to them quite fast enough, and so he said, "Is there some way? Since these people have been frozen, is there some way that we can perhaps revive them?" And you had a German scientist who was successful doing that. He was able to extend it, and I forget exactly what the amount of time was, but it was pretty significant. It was like 20 minutes or something after they had died. He could revive them. And so, as the Allies were mopping things up, you had a flight surgeon from America who was looking at some of the data. He saw this research and he started inquiring about it. And so he went to the facility where this guy was doing his experiments, and he asked him about it. And, he was aware that the Nazis were doing experiments on humans, so he pointedly asked him about that. And he said, "Oh, no. We did the experiments with pigs and other animals, and we would freeze them to death, and then we would try bringing them back. And we just did it trial and error, and we tried different things, and we eventually hit on the right thing. Can I see your facilities?" And he goes there and looks at it, and they didn't have a trough for pigs. They had a trough that was a size for humans. And he realized that they had frozen people to death, and then they would try one thing, and they try another. Trial and error. They eventually found out how they could bring people back, but they killed a lot of people doing it. And so there's been a quest to try to extend our lives, hasn't it? It's the same people who will do anything to prolong their life. They're also putting out executive orders on abortion. They'll kill babies, but they want to extend their life. This kind of Frankenstein science. As a matter of fact, that story, the U.S. government brought that guy over, the German scientist who was doing that, and the guy who was investigating it was upset about it. He went public, and that was when the public started to realize what was going on with these scientists, quote unquote, like Mengele and others. And they started to realize about Operation Paperclip. And I think that inspired the whole idea about Captain America. They used that type of thing in the movie, but it had already been used in the comic books as well. Somebody being frozen, a pilot being frozen, then revived later on, very long time after that. But when you look at what happened in this particular one, now what they're saying is they're trying to extend this so they can do transplants. Because when somebody dies and they want to donate their organs, the organs just don't last very long. Even when they're poised and ready to take them out, only about 50% of the organ donors, even when they're in the hospital and they're brain dead and the family agrees to take them off of life support, only about 50% of the time can they get any organs that they can use. This is why China removes the organs from live prisoners. And it's why Fauci removes the organs from live babies in conjunction with the University of Pittsburgh and other places like that we now learn about because of the political persecution by Lala Harris and Javier Becerra, the current vice president, the current head of HHS, coming after David DeLeiden, Center for Medical Progress, when he exposed their trafficking in baby body parts. And as part of the discovery, they were able to show these contracts from the NIH, from the FDA, and how they were presumably taking, as we've said many times, made the case where you have to take the organs out of these babies while they're still alive in order for this to work. You have to carefully screen them, prepare it. You've got a pregnant woman who's so far along, certain period of time along, you string her along, you get her in there, and then you deliver the baby and remove the organs from a living baby. So now they're looking at the pigs. They said the ostensibly dead pigs that they use this, have a breakthrough. They were able to use blood and some other things to pump through the circulatory system, and some secret sauce, whatever it is, I don't care. And they were able to revive these pigs after they've been dead for an hour, kind of. They did not get up and start walking around. What happened was their organs started functioning. And beyond that, the ostensibly dead pigs startled the scientists by making sudden head movements during the experiment, but they did not find any brain activity, they said, other than just a spike that they thought was related to the head movement, and that they didn't see any brain activity, but they looked at organ functions. But they had deliberately put things in to neutralize any electrical activity. They said what caused the movement at no point was any they don't know what caused that, but at no point was any electrical activity recorded in the pigs' brains. However, said Curtis, the movement was a major concern, quote unquote, because recent neurosciences research has suggested that conscious experience can continue even when electrical activity in the brain cannot be measured. So it's possible that this technique did, in fact, cause the subject pigs to suffer, and would cause human beings to suffer if it were to be used on them. So we need to do more research about that. Are they concerned about that with babies? Are they concerned about the babies that they abort, that they rip to pieces while the babies are conscious and alive and their brains are functioning? You can pick up their brain signals, unlike these dead pigs. They have more concern for resurrected pigs than they do for living babies. Ripped apart while alive and conscious. They don't care, as long as they get the organs that they want for their experiments. Their experiments to create transhuman mice. They graft these human organs they ripped out of living babies onto mice so they can do some experiments. The technique could potentially be used to resuscitate people, they said. Well, when we go back and look at Mary Shelley, that whole idea of Frankenstein, that was after some early experiments where they applied electricity to frog legs that had been amputated, and they watched them jump, because it's just the electrical signal that is hitting the muscles, the nervous system controlling the muscles. It was still intact. And so based on that, in the early 1800s, this whole idea goes around that, electricity is a spark of life, and that really was the inspiration for Frankenstein. If we take dead bodies and we can stitch them back together again and hit them with a jolt of electricity, we can bring them back to life. And that's kind of what these people, where they are right now with this process. And they said death may not be black and white, but rather a biological process that remains treatable and reversible for hours after it occurred. Well, I'm looking for the real thing that lasts for eternity. These people. They induced a heart attack in anesthetized pigs, which stopped blood flowing through their bodies. Isn't that nice? They anesthetize the pigs first. They don't do that to the babies they abort, right? They don't get any anesthesia. They just get ripped apart. This deprives the body's cells of oxygen after the heart attack. Without oxygen, cells in mammals die. And then the pigs sat dead for an hour. The scientists then pumped the bodies with a liquid containing the pig's own blood, as well as a synthetic form of hemoglobin, the protein that carries oxygen in red blood cells, and drugs that protect cells and prevent blood clots. The blood started circulating again, and many cells began functioning, including in vital organs such as the heart, liver, and kidney, for the next 6 hours of the experiment. So they say, although the pigs are not considered to be conscious in any way, their seemingly dead cells revived, their hearts began to beat. The scientists call the solution they put together Organ X. Organ X. They circulated the veins and the arteries. And so, when you look at this, I think some of this is very naive. I had this discussion with Zoltan Isvan, who was running with a party that he created to draw attention to transhumanism. He called it the Transhumanist Party, and he was running for president. And, of course, nothing was going to come of it, but he was trying to get attention for transhumanism, so I interviewed him. And I asked him, I said, so, what is life? As a matter of fact, what are you? Are you just the body? Are you just a collection of chemicals? And how did all those chemicals and other things get assembled into something that is very, very complex? That just happened? But, what are you? Can you be copied? Can you be transferred? Because this is what he was trying to tell everybody. Yeah, I'm going to transfer myself into some kind of a cyborg. I'm going to live forever. Yeah, that's what we're working on. That's the idea behind the research that we're going to do. So I said, well, do you even know what you are? Are you just the physical? Are you just electronic signals like memory? Yeah, something like RAM or something like a hard drive? Or are you more than that? Is there something that is supernatural about you besides just what you can see and measure? In most countries, they said there is a 5-minute do not touch policy after a respirator is turned off and before transplant surgeons remove organs. But he said before you rush to the operating room, additional minutes will pass by, and by that time, organs can be so damaged as to be unusable. That's why I've been telling you, many other people have been telling you who are more expert in medical issues than I am, that in order for them to get these organs that are viable, the babies have to be operated on while they're alive. The Chinese know that. They operate on prisoners and take them out. So I said sometimes patients don't die immediately when life support is ceased, but their hearts beat too feebly for their organs to stay healthy. In most countries, transplant teams wait for 2 hours for patients to die, said the doctor. Then he said if the patient is not dead yet, they do not try to retrieve the organs after 2 hours. So this could be the opportunity for them to have, I don't know, maybe a new profit center. How will they use this? Well, your guess is as good as mine. Any technology can be used for evil or it can be used for good. It's really the people behind it and what are their ethics and their morality. The common man. They created Common Core to dumb down our children. They created Common Pass to track and control us. Their Commons Project to make sure the commoners own nothing. And the communist future. They see the common man as simple, unsophisticated, ordinary. But each of us has worth and dignity created in the image of God. That is what we have in common. That is what they want to take away. Their most powerful weapons are isolation, deception, intimidation. They desire to know everything about us while they hide everything from us. It's time to turn that around and expose what they want to hide. Please share the information and links you'll find at thedavidknightshow.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. If you can't support us financially, please keep us in your prayers. thedavidknightshow.com.